Hi everybody, thank you so much for coming to class tonight. It's going to be a little bit of a different class. My staff member is in the hospital who is going to be doing this program, Bree. She's doing okay, but they have to keep her for a few days. And so what I decided, you have my wonderful boyfriend DJ, who has done a ton of classes with me, but he is not 100% comfortable teaching it from the beginning to the end. So I am going to be teaching this tonight virtually, and he can pause it along the way. And I'm going to show you how to do everything to make yourself a beautiful geode board. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself. If you haven't been to my classes, I live here. I'm on the 6th floor. And I moved here a little over a year ago when I used to live at Rosebridge Farm, and when I lived there, I did classes. And so when I came here and I saw there was no classes on their calendar for their social events, I asked if I could do classes, and that's how Classes with Carrie B was born. And I am just like right now obsessed with resin, and this is one of my favorite classes. So I'm super happy you guys are here. I think you're gonna have a great time. And so let's get started. So the first thing that's gonna happen is I just wanna show you an example of a board. Typically the steps that we have, and I'll go through them now, but then we'll go through them slowly as we're actually doing the project. So as you see this board here, it's got a couple of components. The first component is this crystal area here, which I call my crystal cluster. Then it's got two areas of crushed glass. One that I typically put around that cluster, and one that runs down. I call that a river. It doesn't have to be there. It could be another area on the side. You don't have to do it at all. I just think it looks cool to have two of them on your board. The other thing that's on this board is resin. And so you all will be getting a cup of 4 ounces of resin for 2 ounces of A and 2 ounces of B, which you guys are gonna be stirring for 3 minutes, which I'll go over with you. And then you're gonna be dividing into 4 cups and coloring it. You'll be making 4 colors tonight, and those colors are going to be what you end up laying on your board. They could be any colors. I typically like to do 2 of a similar, like blue, and here I did a kind of teal. And then I like to do a white or a black and a metallic, and I have all those things for you. So I'm gonna show you how to get started, and thanks so much for being here. And Dee, thank you for doing class tonight. So the first thing that's going to happen is you all are going to have your clusters glued onto your board. So you'll come over to this small table here, and there's all these clusters that you get to choose from. So you're just going to, once you come over, and we're gonna do this before the rest of the start of the class, you're just going to use a hot glue gun, and you're gonna make a big circle around the spot where you want the cluster. And then I want you to add about, let's go with 5 crystals to your cluster. I do have large crystals. If you choose those, just choose 1. So there's enough for everybody, and then you're gonna glue the rest of them. You don't have to go crazy with the hot glue. It's just to be able to keep them upright. We'll resin them in. So again, first thing that you're gonna do is just kind of 1 or 2 at a time. I have 2 glue guns up here. Just come and get your crystals glued in. The other thing that you're gonna wanna do before class starts is this is crushed glass. And I have it in all different colors, greens, blues, a nice mix, black, big reds, small crushed, sort of clear silvery. Oh, and here's some more that just came in. So this is clear. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna grab yourself a plate, and you're gonna get a handful of it. So whatever color you want, you could do 1 color or mix the colors. So you want a good handful on your plate. Maybe a little bit more than that. So about that much is what you're gonna need, and that is what's going to go into your area around the cluster, as well as your river or your secondary space. So again, you can mix and match, but you're gonna need to take one of those to your seat. Okay, so now you have your cluster glued, you have your plate, and when you sit down, you're gonna see a couple other things. You're gonna see your resin, you're gonna see 6 cups, a pair of gloves, a spoon, and 4 popsicle sticks. And then all of these beautiful colors that you can use. So I want to tell you a little bit about resin. Resin's awesome, and if you buy it, you can buy it at Michael's, you can buy it online. If you're crafting with it, it comes with an A and a B. And what you do is you actually pour it a 50-50 mixture. And for your class today, you're getting 2 ounces of A and 2 ounces of B. Now, when it's in its 2 different forms, and it's actually, you can see the denser is on the bottom and the less dense is at the top, nothing happens. But after we stir it for 3 minutes, it starts a chemical reaction that's really cool. It will start to slowly warm up, and then when it gets really, really hot and starts to cool down, it solidifies. So basically, from the time that we are done stirring it, we have approximately 15 minutes to start getting it on the board. It will be able to be worked with for an additional, I would say, anywhere from another 15 to 20 minutes. So like, we have about a 30-minute window to complete the project. Even after that, it's still able to be worked with. It's just thicker. It gets thicker like taffy. By tomorrow this time, it'll be fully hardened and your board could be used. So what I want you guys to do now is just get your gloves on. Resin is a nightmare when it's on your hands. It's super sticky. If you do happen to get it on your hands or your phone or anything else, mine is closed. It's really hard to get out of clothes. You're just gonna use hand sanitizer, and it beads up, and then you can wipe it off with a paper towel. Don't wash, because it won't go anywhere. But hand sanitizer is the way of the world. It's gonna always help you with that. So, spoon, your 4 ounces of resin, and we're gonna start to stir. Now, when you stir, I want you to stir like you are like stirring hot chocolate, okay? Don't go too crazy with it, just round around in one direction. And then if you get bored, you can go the other direction. But the most important movement in this whole thing is like there's powder at the bottom and you're making brownies, you go down to the bottom and up to the top. This is always, to me, the best way to stir, because it gets all the stuff from the bottom and brings it up to the top, and then it's much, much easier to mix them. And what you'll start to see is it's starting to get clear, but with a bunch of bubbles, and that's good. When we're done the stirring process, it's gonna be totally clear with a ton of bubbles. The bubbles go away the longer you wait, because it gets hot, and so it forces all those bubbles up. Okay, so we're just stirring it, stirring it, stirring it. Awesome. And it should start to look really clear. That's what you want it to look like. Kind of like a weird science project. Okay, so we're gonna keep stirring for a few. Now, the next thing that's gonna happen when we're done stirring is we're gonna be placing those 6 cups out. 2 are gonna go underneath your project, because if you don't do that and you get resin on the sides or bottom of your board, it sticks to the table. This kills your hands. I have stirred so much resin, it does. So if you gotta go to the other side, please do. No one has lost a hand, but it does feel like you might. And I can't even stir with this hand, so go back to this one. So you're gonna stir. So then, what was I saying? Okay, so then you have 2 underneath your board to hold it up, and the other 4 are for coloring. Okay, I think we're pretty much good. Should be clear, but tons of bubbles. All right, so next thing you're gonna do, you're gonna space your 4 cups, okay, out like that, and then put your board on 2 of them. Just like that. Now, your board doesn't need to be near you right now, actually, for a good 15 minutes. So just place it over to the side. Okay, so now here is the fun part. We get to color our resin. So hold your spoon to the side and pour half a cup into these little mini cups. So just about half. Doesn't have to be exact, but just about half. All right. And I'll wait for you guys to do that. So you have 4 of them, poured half. And then you should have resin left at the bottom, which you need. You should probably have ½ an ounce. So there's the ounce line, ½ an ounce, where that little divot is in your cup. That's perfect. If you don't have that much, pour a little back. If you have more, pour more into your mixing cups. Okay, that can go to the side. Next thing is coloring. So these are all powders that are in these squatty little containers. And so what you're gonna do is, and they're the color, whatever color's on the outside is what you're gonna see on the inside, okay? So, and what you, okay, that makes sense. Let's try this again. What you see on the outside is what it's gonna look like in your cup, stirred in with your resin. That's better. So for example, for this guy, I love this turquoise, I'm going to start with a nice scoop, about that size. And I'm gonna put that scoop into one of my cups, and I'm gonna stir it. How you know it's stirred is you don't see any powder anymore. Okay, so you stir, you stir, you stir. Okay, now what I like to do is I like to pull my color up on my popsicle stick, and if I still can see the stick underneath, I need to add more color. So usually you do need to add a little bit more. You can add more of the same to make the color more concentrated, or you can mix and match. So if you think this is too blue, like too bright, and you want to dull it down, you can add a little bit of white, either a little bit of the liquid white or a little bit of the powder. Let me grab some of the powder so I can show you. So here's some powder white. So if I felt that was just too blue, I would add a little scoop of this. And when you're adding color to a color, start very slow. And so just add a little bit and then more until you get the color you like. All of these powders are like shimmery, like they all have sort of glisten to them. The only thing that I have that doesn't is this white. I love this white. This white looks just so cool on these projects. It's a matte white. You'll see it on the project. You'll see it on all my projects that are here that you can look at. But this is what I always use in mine because I'm just obsessed with it. So just so you know, that's what it looks like. And if you want a darker color, add a little bit of black. So I'm gonna add a little bit more blue to that, stir it in. And you really can't do too much. It'll just get really goopy if you put too much, so let's try not to, but no more than 2 scoops. Look at my color, looks awesome. Now I get to make my next color. So I just think it looks cool, but you guys, you do you, to have the, like things in a color family, right? So like in a pink board, you'd have like fuchsia and light pink, and then maybe black and silver or whatever. For mine, I am doing blues like I always do. And so I'm gonna use this turquoise, I'm gonna use this blue, and I'm actually gonna add some black to this blue to get a deeper color, but I'm gonna start with that spoonful. Actually, I'm gonna do a little bit more because I know that I need it to be really, really blue to add the black in. Oh, that's really pretty. I might not even add black. That's like such a pretty blue. Yeah. So in these like squatter ones, these shorter dudes are golds, coppers, silver, and so feel free to use these. I love them in the project. So I'm going to use this copper in this project, and I'm going to start with a scoop. Okay, I did 2, but I did 2.5. All right. And then stirring it. Look at how cool this looks. Hang on just a second. Okay, sorry everybody. I just finished the copper, which looks amazing. Okay, and now I always use white. I don't know, I just love it. So this comes out in just squirts, and no, I just have to say give it a squirt. So I give it in a squirt like that. You want that white to be real white if you're using it. Mix it in. Check to make sure it's not translucent. Cool. Awesome. And now we have all the things that we need. We have our 4 colors. And so the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna lay the clear on the board, and then we're going to add the colors to it. So I'm actually gonna change angles so you guys can see this a little bit better, and I'll see you in just a second. Hi, all right, we are going for another angle here. Excellent. Okay, let me get my gloves on. And the first thing that we're going to be doing is we are laying the crystal clusters, or I'm sorry, the crushed glass around the crystal cluster. So what you're going to want to do is your crystal clusters right here. Okay, so you're going to want to take your clear resin and your spoon, and you're going to spoon a circular area around your cluster. And then you're going to fill it in between the crystal cluster and the edge of your board with your clear resin. Just like that. So you have a nice circle. You also can feel free to add a little bit in between where your crystal cluster is, so it holds it a little bit better. Okay, next you're gonna put your crystals in. So err on the side of making sure you put plenty. Some will fall off, but 99% of them stay on, okay? Tuck them in. Tuck them all into that little circle area. Oh, I got a random blue guy in there. Dark blue. Want him. Okay. There's one. I have a little bit more on this side. And it's okay. There's going to be some that drop on the table. This is a messy class, and that's okay. Okay, so you got your first one done. Don't worry about stuff coming over the side, it's fine. Now, you wanna do a second one. I always do a river. I guess I could try, I love doing the rivers. I'm gonna do a river. So I'm gonna do a river, and so I'm just gonna take my resin and my spoon, and I'm just gonna make the outline how I want it to go. And then as wide as I want it, I'm going to bring the resin down. Okay, remember this is supposed to be organic. It's a geode, right? So don't make it super specific. And I'm going to use the dark blue down here. So same thing. Get a whole bunch of crystals. There we go. Okay. In that spot, I don't know where this guy came from. He's there, dark guy. Okay. Organize them in. You're going to have some that are not part of there, and that's okay. Tighten it everything up. And any of them that are not sticking, wipe to the side. Okay, just like that. So you can feel free to pause the video for a minute until people get to this point. So once you have your area around your cluster in your river or your side piece, whatever you're gonna do, the next part's really fun. This is adding the color to your board. So I typically start with the color that I want closest to my cluster. And so I'm going to use the turquoise. You use the stick and you slowly bring it around the cluster in an outline. Just like this. Take your time with it. Keep your cup over the area you're working on so then you don't get it everywhere. So if you're right on top of where you're working, it won't go anywhere else. Okay? And if it's wider than you want it to be, it's okay. You can always add other resin on top of it. And if it's not as wide, you can do the same thing. So I'm going to use the same color as I did up here on the outline of my river. And I tend to like to do that. So then I do the same thing I did up there, and I'm outlining this in the turquoise. Now I want to tell you guys, I'm showing you how I like to do it. You don't have to do it this way. You can change colors, you can add whatever you want to, wherever you want it. Some people do abstract boards, they don't even look like a geode. I mean, it's totally up to you. I'm just gonna show you how to make what I had on my website, and then if you decide to do something different, that's totally fine. You've got the resin, you've got the crystals, and you have the glass. So you can do whatever you want. Now, did you see how that one kind of got stuck and it got a little bit thicker? It's okay. It's all right to have some of the outside glass to have resin on it. It's totally cool. I actually like what it looks like when you do that. So I try and get it in, and that helps make also the barrier so that any of those side crystals do not come out because they've got extra resin in them. All right. Okay, so now you pick the next color you want next to it. So I usually do the blues next to each other, but I'm just gonna change it up. So I'm gonna go copper, and I'm doing the same thing. So I'm running this copper in an outline of the turquoise. And again, you can make this as thick or as thin as you want. Resin constantly moves. So even if you think you have a very specific design, do understand that it is going to expand and move because it loves to self-level, and so it's going to kind of move around the board. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring this, and remember, keep your cup over the area you're working in. That helps make the least amount of spills on top of your board. Do it as thick or as thin as you want. Try not, I would say don't go too thick. It's kind of hard to, well, if you go too thick, you can always cover it, but you just want to make sure that it's not so thick that you're covering more of your board than you want. So what is happening now is something that's going to happen most likely to all of you. I am getting drips of copper on my board. I'm not going to touch those until I see if I cover them. If I don't cover them, then I'm going to clean them up with hand sanitizer. If I cover them, you won't even know they're there. So then I think I might go, I don't know if I want to go blue or white. I'm going to go white. So this is, you're just repeating. You're outlining with a new color until you get to the look, like until you cover the amount of the board that you want to cover. So I'm gonna do this, and after this I'm gonna do my blue, and then I'm gonna see. I may not go and do another, like repeat pattern if that's enough resin. But for this one, I'm gonna go thinner, kind of do a thin line. And you see how, like, if I make a little mistake, it's okay. Oh, I am being messy today, but I'll show you how to get it all off. Okay, now I'm gonna go in with my blue. And this one, I didn't love how much white I put in there, so I'm gonna actually go over some of the white with the blue. And then on the areas where I didn't feel like I did too much, I'm just gonna outline it. And do you see how it's coming together here? I love that. That means that in this area, you can actually start to do a V. So it'll look like this. You're doing the outline again, but you're doing a V. So it goes like that. And a V on this side. That. Might do a little bit thicker. Cool. Then I'm going in here. This starts to form a V. And then we can go down here. Awesome. Okay, cool. So I do think I'm gonna finish this, but I'm gonna leave this and then I'll show you how we clean it off. So I am gonna finish this. I'm gonna add some more of the turquoise up here into this V section. I'm actually gonna do a decent amount in here. I'll do some up here. Good, I did get the blue by the turquoise. I always love that. And that's probably all the turquoise I'm gonna use. And then I'm gonna go into copper one more time. And then I'm gonna do some white, and then my board is done. I kind of swirled that a little bit. I love it. So I'm gonna flip this around. Like that, and then I'll show you with the cleanup. Okay, so to do cleanup, you see I have all those spots down there. I'm gonna put hand sanitizer on a napkin and just wipe. That hand sanitizer will evaporate, so you just make sure you get everything off your board. And voila! You have yourself a gorgeous geode resin board. These will be available for pickup tomorrow. It is Easter, so you don't have to pick them up tomorrow. You can get them anytime next week. They will be available by 1 o'clock tomorrow if you want to swing by. They'll be in the kitchen here, all ready to go. You do want to leave them overnight. They will be just too messy to put in your car. So I sent an email about that. But I hope you guys had fun, and feel free to mess with your project, you know, for a little while until you get it looking exactly like you like it. But I hope you had a great time, and happy Easter.